Welcome, everybody, to the meeting of the Senate Finance and Appropriations Committee. Will staff call the roll?
You have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. What we're going to do today is start going through some of the House bills, since we made it past crossover after a 10-hour meeting yesterday on the floor of the Senate. So if anybody falls asleep here today, don't worry about them. But anyway, what we're going to do is do a couple of different categories of bills. There will be some that I have April to be able to let us know what groups of bills we'll be taking up today. So.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will quickly read each bill. These are bills that were identical to Senate bills that have already been heard in the committee, and I'll provide a brief description, and I believe we're going to put them all in the same block. So I'll start with House Bill 1645, Delegate Anderson's bill. This bill has to do with notice before penalty and interest in state taxes. It relates to the leader tax and notification for 30 days prior to return date when the return is required before interest can be done. It is identical to Senate Bill 1996, Senator Ruff's bill, which passed the Senate 40 yes, 0 no. The next bill is House Bill 1563, Delegate Fowler's bill. This one has to do with exemptions from sales and use tax to certain companies, structural components of indoor, closed, controlled environment, environmental, commercial, agricultural facilities, including greenhouses. This one is identical to Senate Bill 1240, Senator Obenshain's bill, which passed the Senate 39 yes, 0 no. The next bill is House Bill 1405, Delegate McNamara's bill. This one has to do with removing the requirement for an affiliated group electing to change its corporate income tax filing status, that the group's liability from the previous tax year not be decreased by the same filing status, what's called the prior year test. It is identical to Senate Bill 796, Senator Surville's bill, which passed the Senate 38 yes, 0 no. The next bill proposed for the block is House Bill 1456, also Delegate McNamara. This one has to do with income tax through pass-through entities. Beginning in tax year 21, allows the bill to modify the elective pass-through entities by doing a number of things. This one's identical to Senate Bill 1476, Senator Peterson, which passed the Senate 40 yes, 0 no. The next bill, House Bill 1595, is Delegate Robinson's bill. This is a conformity bill, which conforms to provisions from the federal government. You might remember this is identical to Senate Bill 882, Senator Howe's bill, which passed the Senate 40 yes, 0 no, and it contains the emergency clause. Senate budget incorporated the changes that are in the bill. The next bill, House Bill 2238, Delegate Cherry's bill. This has to do with Precision Plastic Manufacturing Grant Fund and has to do with an approved MEI project. It's identical to Senate Bill 1134, Senator Ruff's bill, which passed the Senate 38 yes, 0 no. The next bill, House Bill 1411, Delegate Marshall's bill, relates to the Virginia Community Development Financial Institutions Fund and Program. It's identical to Senate Bill 1320, Senator McClellan's bill, which passed the Senate 40 yes, 0 no, and the committee budget included $5 million for that purpose. And Senator Barker, those are all the bills in the block for today.
All right, those are the bills that are in the block that are identical. Okay, we have a motion to report all the bills in the block. Is there a second? Second. All right, we have a motion and a second.
This block contains a lot of tax increases.
Well, the black are all bills that we passed in the Senate unanimously. So.
Is 2319 in there?
No.
So all of the tax increases are out?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, right. These are identical to bills that we passed in the Senate, so. Is there, it's been moved and seconded that these bills would be reported. We will vote on the board.
Ayes 14, no 0.
The bills are reported. All right, next group. That was it. Okay. All right, now, we will now move then through the rest of the bills here, and we'll take them up pretty much in order here in terms of what we have on the agenda. House Bill 1436, Delegate McGuire.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. House Bill 1436, it would eliminate the current requirement for that a veteran taxpayer be age 55 or older to claim the Virginia military retirement subtraction for taxable years 2023 and thereafter. There's been some new developments in this. Most veterans retire before age 55. And I think our message is we want Virginia to be the most veteran-friendly state. And so if they move to North Carolina that does not tax their veterans, they're not going to come back. So we want to keep our veterans home. A new Democrat governor in Maryland, Wes Morse, has a program he just announced called Keep Our Heroes Home. And he's going to copy Virginia by lowering taxes on veterans in Maryland up to $40,000 like we did in 2022. And he says this is a thank you to our veterans, and it's a competitive strategy to retain veterans in Maryland. And he has a quote, and I'm paraphrasing his quote, but it says, "I have no intention of losing veterans to Virginia." So to be competitive with Maryland and North Carolina, I would ask that the committee act favorably on eliminating the age 55 requirement. And I just saw Senator Lucas over there in Education in the House, and she was smiling when she left. She said she'd be smiling when we came over here, so I hope you guys will consider that.
All right, does anybody have any questions of the patron? Is there anybody who wishes to speak in favor of the bill?
Sorry for the lack of sport coat. I ran out at dark. I'm out from Northern Virginia, Alexandria. Left my wallet too, but I went back and got the wallet. Forgot the coat. I'm with the American Legion. I'm also on the Joint Leadership Council as a representative. That's the 25 veteran groups. And the Joint Leadership Council has an initiative in support of this bill. And thank you very much for that bill and for your support. The American, so I'm here for the American Legion. I myself I wasn't a SEAL, I was a JAG in the reserves. So I shot rubber bands every now and then at people. But I'm in support of it. We have 39,500 members in Virginia, 208 posts, American Legion. We couldn't do testimony tonight, virtual testimony of our comments online, but I had several people who support this bill, and I'm from Northern Virginia, several from Northern Virginia, where we have the Maryland line. You know, several of you are from Northern Virginia. Very easy to commute. You also, if you're not in a SCIF, a secure facility, there's a lot of telecommuting with the federal jobs anyway and other jobs. They can take the Metro, they can commute over the Maryland line, and as Delegate McGuire said, the Maryland governor has offered to increase the amount of money he will exempt from income for people under 55. There's several people who've emailed you, included people from 17th District of Virginia. That's 17 posts, different commanders and posts. You've had emails, you being on the Finance Committee, from Colonial Heights, from Spotsylvania. There's a lot of support for this bill, and some of the emails you received on 6 February from people in Northern Virginia said they're either serving now and looking at tax-exempt states, literally, that's Michelle Sudaberry. Others are saying, you know, considering leaving, and here's why, and they gave some much detail. The transfer numbers I looked at for the American Legion showed people are moving to tax-exempt states. I can't tell you precisely why, but they are transferring more to tax-exempt states than not.
Yeah.
The other part of that Delegate McGuire touched on, and this goes to the revenue that I saw or heard, $37.8 million. The statistics show to 2019 and other statistics, and veterans contribute very low unemployment, very high civilian income, own real property, high household income. So we do want to keep veterans in Virginia, and the message that we're trying to send from the Legion and JLC is not just to retirees. They're a small percentage. We're trying to send the message to keep all veterans here, that we're friendly to all veterans. So we thank them for their service, and we hope that you would keep them here. Thank you.
All right, thank you. If there's no one else that want to testify in favor, is there anyone to testify in opposition? All right. Yes.
Mr. Chair, I believe we have some folks online that want to speak. Is that,
No,
did they not get on?
we don't have that system set up, so there aren't any. This bill is identical to Senator Reeves' Senate Bill 1194, which was passed by indefinitely. So Senator Sasslaw? All right, a motion is made to pass the bill by indefinitely. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Senator Hanger?
Thank you. Just to speak to that briefly, the bill has merit, but I guess we're doing other things that are very valuable in this area. So I think that would be a reason that why we decided not to advance it.
All right. We'll vote on the board. Passed by indefinitely.
Ayes 11, noes 5.
All right, ayes 11, noes 5. The bill is passed by indefinitely.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman,
Thank
members
you.
of the committee.
Thank you. All right. Next one we have, Delegate McNamara, House Bill 2138.
Thank you, chairs and members of the committee. House Bill 2138 is the business income tax package reduction. It's similar to, not similar, it's identical to Senate Bill 1355 that Senator Newman carried. Be happy to go through the whole bill if you'd like. I have a feeling you're pretty familiar with it. I would say, you know, there's one particular piece in that bill. So the bill is fairly simple. It lowers the corporate tax rate, and it does some other little tiny things with business interest deduction. But there's another little part of that bill that may have kind of not been quite as obvious, and that's what it does for small businesses with the qualified business investment or the qualified business interest, qualified business income deduction. So I just wanted to throw that out there to keep in mind as we go through the budget process. That is a significant benefit that was started at the federal level about 4 or 5 years ago. There's very few states that utilize that benefit, and I think it could really help position Virginia from a competitive standpoint, and also it is targeted to an area of our economy that has struggled very, very mightily over the last few years. We've done some great things on the individual side the past couple of years. We haven't really done much in this particular sphere, so I did want to put that out there. And of course, I would welcome passage of HB 2138. Be glad to answer any questions.
All right, any questions of the patron?
I move to report.
All right.
Substitute motion.
All right, substitute motion.
To pass by indefinitely.
All right, is there a second to that?
Second.
All
Mr.
right, we have a
Chair.
motion and a second, and this is identical as by the patron to 1355, Senator Newman's bill, which was passed by indefinitely. Senator Peterson.
Just for a moment, the train's moving, and I'm going to vote for the motion. But I think there's some ideas here, and obviously it's not in our Senate budget, and so therefore we need to be consistent with that. But I do think attracting small business and innovative ways to do that is something we need to keep an eye on. And not that this bill's going to necessarily be that vehicle, but I think it's got some good ideas. Thanks.
All right. Does anyone else have any comments or questions? All right. We will vote on the board on the motion to pass by indefinitely.
Ayes 11, noes 5.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you very much to the committee.
All right. Don't leave yet.
Okay.
House Bill 2319.
2319. So House Bill 2319 is the individual side.
Right.
It's identical to Senator Norman's bill, Senate Bill 1451. It, again, I will say we have done very good things in the past couple of years, from improving the progressivity of our tax code with the increase in the standard deduction. and also eliminating, well, it's not tax code, but eliminating part of the grocery tax, very progressive. I think this goes a few steps further. Again, I would encourage us to consider. I think there is additional revenues available, and I think it will certainly help our competitive position. There's areas of this bill that will impact 84% of taxpayers, and another area of the bill that will impact 86% of taxpayers, and they're not the same. So it kind of has a little bit for everybody. Be glad to answer any questions, but I appreciate the opportunity to present it.
The delegates
All
are
right.
smarter than I am, so I move to report.
All right, we have a motion and a second to report.
Substitute motion.
Substitute motion.
Pass by indefinitely.
All right, is there a second to that? All right, we have a motion and a second to pass by indefinitely. This is identical to Senate Bill 1451 from Senator Norman, which was passed by indefinitely. So we will vote on the board.
Ayes 11, noes 5.
Thank
All right,
you,
the
committee.
bill is passed by indefinitely. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, is one more? Okay.
Ready?
1442, yeah, go ahead.
House
Yeah.
Bill 1442, I think I like my chances a little better on this one.
You're a wise man, so.
So just from a quick background perspective, if we remember what we did from a Wayfair perspective,
Right.
several years back, I believe it was 5 years back, last year we did what I call Wayfair for transient occupancy tax, where we required the intermediaries, whether it's been Expedia, Airbnb, fill in the blank, to be more progressive and more proactive in collecting and remitting those taxes to the localities. It's worked out excellent. The localities have seen a huge bump. What this bill does is it tries to it makes it a little simpler for these localities to meet those requirements. So the bill started out quite a bit deeper than it is now, but right now what it does is all the localities, every town, city, county that collects transient occupancy tax, some are due on the 20th, some are due on the 15th, some are 4%, 6%, 3%, the complete gamut. And this just creates in one place a list of what those fees are. That's it. And when you change your fee, you have to tell this centralized list collector that you've changed your fee. And if you don't, then you can't go penalize the intermediary because they didn't realize that at your board meeting on Tuesday that you changed your fee from 5% to 6%, and it goes into effect in 10 days. So it just makes it a little bit easier for them to meet what we are requiring them to do, which has worked out very well. And that's the bill. Be happy to answer any questions.
All right. Anyone have any questions for the patron? All right. Is there anyone who wants to testify in favor of this bill? All right. Well, let me see if there's anyone who's in. Oh, come on up.
Eric Maybach, Fauquier County Commissioner of Revenue. I'm here just to say we support this bill.
All right. Thank you. Is there anyone to testify in opposition to the bill? So, all right. The floor is open for a motion. All right. We have a motion and a second to report. We will vote on the board. Oh, yours.
Ayes 16, noes 0.
All right, you're one for three, so.
Thank you.
That's pretty good batting average, so.
Thank you all for your time.
Certainly. All right. All right. Yes, Delegate Austin. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Mr. Chairman, and
Thank
members
you.
of the committee. I have House Bill 1496, it's Commonwealth Mass Transit Fund, and Senator Cosgrove had Senate Bill 1079. My bill has a few technical changes. There's some language pertaining to reporting dates and things of that nature. Otherwise, the bills are identical.
Right.
So, you need me to explain the bill, Senator?
Well, since we've been through it, we probably don't, but if anybody has any questions, they could certainly
Be
ask.
happy to answer
them
any
of you.
questions, Senator. Thank you.
Anybody have any questions of the patron?
I move to report.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
can someone just briefly remind me what this bill was about?
Yes.
Since I've got 4 metro stations in my district, so
It's
before
a
I
VRE.
give the farm away.
Senator, it's a VRE bill. It takes VRE out from under mass transit and puts it a standalone entity so we can pull the funding from mass transit over and identify it to VRE, and it can be more accountable, more transparent. Is essentially what we're doing with the bill.
Madam Chair, or Mr. Chair,
Yes.
my understanding is there's some technical changes between this and the Cosgrove bill, and I just wondered if somebody could brief us
Sure.
on
Yeah.
that.
Mr. Senator, Jennifer DeBrule,
Yeah.
Director DeBrule is here to explain some of those technical amendments.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Jennifer DeBrule, Director of the Department of Rail and Public Transportation. Just a few technical corrections that were made. We changed the reporting date for WMATA to provide their budget to the Commonwealth Transportation Board from February 1st to April 1st, and that is just to align with their annual budget process. And then the other technical corrections had to do with legal language about the definition of VRE, since they're not an entity of them. VRE itself isn't an entity, but they're wholly owned by the Northern Virginia Transportation Commission and the Potomac-Rappahannock Transportation Commission. We just changed some of that language, so they're very, very technical in nature.
All right. And one quick question. I understand that with the technical changes in Delegate Austin's bill, that's in the version that you would like the final bill to have. So therefore, Senator Cosgrove's bill may get those changes when Delegate Austin is in charge, so.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, is there a motion? All right, we have a motion to report and a second. We will vote on the board.
I 16, no 0.
All right, I-16 no 0, the bill
Thank you,
reports.
Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the committee.
Thank you. All right. Delegate Wiley.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. House Bill 2362 is in front of you. This simply provides that for such funds it may be appropriated, the Commonwealth to pay the burial fees at veteran cemeteries run by the Department of Veterans Services of a member of the National Guard and Reserve, a spouse, active duty member, a veteran of the Armed Forces of the United States, or a spouse of a member of the National Guard and Reserve, or a surviving spouse of such member or veteran. The Department of Veterans Services will develop guidelines for the administration for this section. I appreciate your support.
All right. Yeah, we have a committee substitute to address
Yes,
a
sir.
couple of small differences between your bill and the bill that Senator DeSteph had that we passed out 38 to 1 in the Senate. Can you provide the description of the committee substitute?
Mr. Chairman, the substitute would conform to SB 924, placing the provisions in the Department of Veterans Services Code Section 2.2-2001, and then would also add the National Guard and Reserve members in Delegate Wiley's bill.
All right, so this would add in the National Guard and the Army Reserve, so we would get those.
Yes, sir.
into
That would be favorable. Thank you.
All right, so.
Move the substitute.
All right, we have a motion to adopt the substitute and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Okay, that is adopted.
Move the bill be reported.
All right. Is there a motion? We have a motion and a second to report the bill. If there are no further questions or discussion, we'll vote on the board.
I 16, no 0.
All right, that's reported with a substitute.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the
Thank
committee.
you.
Have a good day.
All right, Delegate Coiner.
Good morning, Mr. Chair.
Certainly.
I have before you House Bill 1369, and while it's not at Cognate, I hope it looks familiar to you. It came before your committee last year. You sent it with a letter to tax so that we could look at it and bring it back, and we're back with answers to some of the questions the committee had. So what this bill allows is for more taxpayers who are struggling to pay their taxes to be able to have a guaranteed installment payment. One of the questions you all asked last year is, how do we address somebody, I think the term was trying to play the float. And the answer to that, and we confirmed and came back with, is that, today, tax allows a 2-year installment agreement, and you can negotiate longer. But it is not adding a new feature to paying your taxes. And so if you look at these installment agreements, you're paying interest on the installment payments and a penalty if you fail to make those payments. And so, the issue that was brought up last year, whether or not this would reduce revenues for the state, I think we've shown from North Carolina using this. The IRS not only uses the 5-year, they've modified their payments to 7 to 8 years. If the taxpayer can't afford to pay it, we get no money at all. So these installment agreements, by lengthening them out, actually ensures that more folks are paying in a timely fashion. There's an incentive to pay earlier, so you don't have that interest and penalty. So we also included your recommendations to have a work group, which is in the bill now, that will allow tax to meet with stakeholder groups to talk about ways we better align installment agreements to collect revenue and ensure that taxpayers are able to keep operating their small businesses, but that we collect our revenues. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, are there any questions of the patron? All right, is there anyone that wishes to testify in favor of this bill?
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Emily Walker, Virginia Society of CPAs. We do support this bill.
All right. Anyone in opposition? All right.
Move to report.
All right, we have a motion and a second to report. If there's no further discussion, we'll vote on the board.
Ayes 16, no 0.
Ayes 16, no 0. The bill is reported. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee.
Certainly. Delegate Bourne.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. The bill before you is quite simple in nature, but I think it could have a profound impact on homeowners throughout the Commonwealth. Right now, we allow localities to offer up to 60 months for a payment plan when someone has gotten behind on their property taxes. My bill would extend that to 72 months and simply give localities another tool in their toolbox and help homeowners stay in their home and not be put in a position of having to have it go to a bank foreclosure sale. So that's the bill. Hopefully, you all look favorably upon it and help homeowners throughout the Commonwealth.
All right, is there any questions of the patron?
I have a question.
Yes, Senator Peterson.
Delegate Bourne, on line 50, it used to say attorney's fees with the S apostrophe, like plural possessive, and they've struck that and just say attorney fees, as if only one attorney can work on a case.
Well, I think
he wants to be the attorney.
Mr. Chair, I would say to the senator, and hopefully he would agree, that the more attorneys you tend to get involved in an issue, probably the more convoluted and complex it's going to become.
Right. Just note my objection. All right.
And I say that as a
objection overridden.
All right, objection overruled. Okay.
That's right. Okay.
Move to report.
All right, we have a motion and a second to report. Vote on the board.
Ayes 16, no 0.
Ayes 16, no 0. Your bill will be reported regardless of how many attorneys you have. So.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate your time and the committee's consideration.
All right. Delegate Durant.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. House Bill 1942 is simply a transparency bill. The current law requires that the effective rate be calculated when a reassessment results in an increase of property value by more than 1%. This rate is required to be advertised in the newspaper prior to the governing body settling a tax rate. House Bill 1942 simply requires that effective rate be placed on the reassessment notice And this new rate is then calculated against that new value to show the taxpayer the true impact of the reassessment and then later the impact of the tax rate as voted on by the governing body. This bill very clearly separates the reassessment from the new rate or tax increases. The purpose of a reassessment is not to create a tax windfall for the locality, but to redistribute the tax burden evenly and fairly. That is the sole purpose behind the General Assembly passing Code Section 58.1-3321. Virginia's tax system, as created by this body, places the burden and responsibility of tax increases on the elected governing body and not the assessment office, be it elected or unelected. This bill provides clarity and transparency to the taxpayer and empowers them with knowledge of the assessment process. So I'm happy to answer any questions. I hope it's the will of the committee to pass the bill.
All right, are there any questions of the patron?
I do have, Mr. Chair, some folks that came down and would like to say.
All right, anyone who wishes to testify in favor of the bill?
Good morning, Scott Maskey, Commissioner of Revenue for Stafford County. I do have a prop. A couple days ago, this article came out in the Charlottesville paper, which perfectly describes the problem. The headline reads, "Local property assessments rose 25% in 2 years, which means higher tax bills and more money for local governments." That, as Delegate Durant said, is not the system of government that we have set up. The reassessment is not to generate more money for the locality, but to redistribute who owes what. Currently, the requirement to have the effective rate advertised in a newspaper circulation is down. Most people don't see that rate. Most governing bodies don't talk about that rate. So it creates the misconception that when your property value goes up, your taxes go up, which can lead to hidden tax increases. All this does is provide transparency to the taxpayer. Thank you.
Good morning. Again, Eric Maybach, Fauquier County Commissioner of Revenue. To what Scott said, it really is about clarity. I know you all have received your assessment notice, and you see on the bottom of that what your new bill is going to be. And sometimes, in my county especially, we only do an assessment every 4 years. So we have taxpayers that look at this and they see an exponential jump in their bill that's really not coming. So we spend the next 3 or 4 months trying to walk our constituents back off the ledge and say, listen, we're going to get to the board. When the board sets the tax rate, then you'll be able to calculate what your actual new bill would be. This would allow us a lot of transparency and really relieve a lot of that confusion for all of our constituents. I appreciate your support.
All right, is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the bill? All right, Delegate Durant.
Mr. Chairman.
Did you not, did you have a
question.
similar bill last year?
No, not quite, no.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes.
It says applies only if the tax rate for the new assessed value has not yet been determined. I don't understand why you do this. I mean, isn't it no determination? I mean,
Thank you, Mr.
what's the
Chair.
point of it?
If you could just guide me to, Senator, which line you're looking at. Yeah, Scott. Yeah.
I'm just reading what it says here. Applies only if the tax rate for the new assessed value has not yet been determined. I'm missing
Yes,
something.
the way the effective rate is written is that becomes the new tax rate when the reassessment is completed. So I believe what that's referring to is if the Board of Supervisors or the governing body has not met and determined a rate above the effective rate, then the effective rate is the one that goes on the notice. If they have met and voted on that year's tax rate prior to the notices going out, then that is the rate that would go on the tax bill.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Hanger.
Thank you. Yeah, this bill is not at all like the bill that was last year. This one is just basically providing additional information for the taxpayer when that new assessment goes out. And it wouldn't be necessary to use the old rate if the new rate has already been established. Then that's all the information they need. And as a former commissioner of revenue, I think this is a good bill. Move it be reported.
Second.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Senator Howell.
I'm just curious if either VACO or BML has an opinion on this.
That's my knowledge.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Katie Boyle with the Virginia Association of Counties. And we have not taken a position on this bill. I mean, I did stop by and speak with Delegate Duran's staff and indicate I don't know that it's necessary given the requirements in 58.13321, which have been discussed a little bit here. There is a requirement, for if the tax rate is not being lowered to the lowered tax rate as required in statute, the governing body has to have a public hearing, has to advertise that public hearing. The statute governs the timing of that notice, what's in that notice. It stipulates what the font size of the notice. So, I mean, I do think there is some transparency built into the code already. Certainly, the discussion about newspaper circulation and the best method to notify people is something we're always willing to discuss, and I know that's been something that's been discussed over time here. So I'll leave it at that, but thank you for the question.
All right, any questions? All right, any questions there? All right, could staff sort of go through a little bit of a description of what this bill would do or not do, type of thing? So.
Senator Barker, I think we had some confusion because of I think there was was there a substitute adopted that limited to just a notification in the paper versus something that was on the taxpayer's bill?
That, I think you're talking about last year's bill. So this one, we had a substitute, and again, I may be phoning a friend on that one, but there are localities that do it every other year, and that those who are doing it, as one of the testimonies said, I believe every 4 years. So we were trying to make sure that all the stakeholders had their input to make sure that that was palatable for everyone involved, and so that we brought everyone to the table on that one. That's why that substitute was brought in.
All right. Is there any further questions or discussion? We're open for a motion.
Move to be reported.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to report. And we will vote on the board.
Thank you very much.
Ayes 15, noes 1.
Ayes 15, noes 1. The bill will be reported. Thank you. All right. Delegate Greenhall. She here? There you are.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members. So House Bill 1685 came about. I was contacted by a constituent small business owner who said that when she got her BPOL, her business professional occupational license, that it wasn't clear when the penalties and interest would begin to accrue, and ended up with a large bill. So in working with the Treasurers Association and the Commissioners of the Revenue, we found out that there are quite a few localities that aren't giving this information very clearly. So the purpose of this bill is simply to require localities to clearly state taxes that are due on BPOL and for machinery and tools, when the bill is due, and what the penalties and interest will be, and when that will begin to accumulate. So this will help all of our businesses, especially our small businesses who struggle with unexpected bills, and there is no fiscal impact to the state, and the impact to localities is minimal, if any. So I certainly hope y'all will consider this bill. I can take any questions. Thank you, sir.
All right. Are there any questions of the patron? Can you clarify what the word clearly means here? How do you have a noted due date that's not clear?
Well, we actually found that some localities, when they send the bill for the BPOL and the taxes, they don't clearly say when the due date is, or they don't say that on that date how much the penalties and interest will be. So this is just simply clarifying for businesses when their due date is, and we have found some that even after the due date, they'll send a combined bill that has penalties and interest and the original tax, so that the businesses don't even understand what it is they're required to pay. So it's just clarifying what's already done.
Yeah. All right. Anyone wish to testify in favor of the bill? Anyone wish to testify in opposition to the bill? All right, we'll take a motion.
Move the report.
All right, we have a motion and a second to report. We'll vote on the board.
Ayes 15, no 0, 1 abstention.
Ayes 15, no 0, 1 abstention. The bill is reported.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members.
All right. No, I'm still ready. Delegate Moorfield.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. House Bill 2334 would legalize the retail sales of marijuana. Just kidding. Maybe next year.
Next year.
No, House Bill 2334 would extend the sunset provision from July 1st, 2023 to July 1st, 2024 on the exemption of retail sales and use tax for equipment and supplies used for the drilling of natural gas and oil. I would also note that there is a provision that would include the exemption for materials and equipment used on the reclamation of these sites. As you know, there are a number of wells in Southwest Virginia that require reclamation as well. And so this is something that we have done routinely over the years and would certainly favor your support.
All right, are there any questions of the patron?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I've got a question. I've got information from the tax department that this bill has an $8 million price tag, $5 million from the general fund, $1.3 million from transportation, $2 million from local governments. I wonder if there's a way to localize the cost to the Delegate Moorfield's district. Impose all the costs on your district.
Well, my response to that would be is that we were initially, of course, serving on the Appropriations Committee. We were not aware of any fiscal impact. That doesn't necessarily mean there wasn't a fiscal impact, but I would respond by saying that a number of our localities are already extremely distressed, and to place that burden on those localities would be extremely difficult for them to do.
Senator Barker, Senator Deeds, all expiring sales and use tax exemptions are built into the official forecast. And 2020 tax reported that the estimated fiscal year 2020 revenue impact of expiring sales tax exemptions, which at that time the natural gas and oil materials and equipment was expiring, and it was a total general fund or a total revenue loss of $8.3 million, $5 million from the general fund.
All right, are there any other questions of the patron?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Senator Deeds.
Delegate Moorfield, you said you didn't know about a fiscal impact on your side, so I assume the House budget does not account for this $8.3 million in lost revenue?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Mr. Chair.
Staff?
Senator Barker, Senator Deeds, I just want to make it clear that it's included, that's how much it costs to the revenue, but it's included in the introduced budget because tax continues to account for expiring exemptions and because they aren't sure whether you're going to adopt it or not.
Yeah. So
right.
So this exemption has been extended. I think you made reference to over a long period of time. I think.
Yes, sir.
Something that's close to 30 years. We keep extending it another year.
Yes, sir.
Is there any end in sight?
Well, as you know, all of the natural gas drilling occurs within Southwest Virginia, or all the natural gas production is done in Southwest Virginia. And I think if we're going to continue to promote not only job creation but sustain the supply of natural gas I think that it's imperative that we continue to do that. As you know, we're looking at various ways to diversify the economy, which I strongly support, including promoting renewable energy in Southwest Virginia.
Yeah.
But it's a requirement that we continue to have fuels, feedstock fuels like coal mine methane and natural gas to support those projects.
Mr. Chairman.
All right, Senator Hanger.
Thank you. It is assumed, that was one thing I was going to note, the staff noted, it's already assumed in the introduced budget. And there is still a demand for fossil fuels. The President last night equipped that, 10 years, we'd lead at least 10 years, but I think it'll be decades before we're off of fossil fuels. So it's one of those things that we historically have done to help with the drilling and what have you in Southwest Virginia. So I move we report the bill.
All right, we have a motion to report the bill in a second. Any further discussion? All right, we will vote on the board.
Ayes 9, no 7.
Ayes 9, no 7. The bill is reported. So,
All right, thank you all. Have a good day.
All right. Delegate Taylor.
Good morning, chairs and members of the committee. This bill passed with bipartisan support and includes clarifying amendments suggested by the Department of Taxation. It clarifies that labor for diagnostic work for car repairs are not taxed, whether or not repairs are performed on the vehicle. There was no opposition from any advocacy groups. The bill is fully supported by organizations involved with car repairs, including the Virginia Automotive Association, the Virginia Auto Dealers Association, Specialty Equipment Market Association, otherwise known as SEMA, and the Virginia Gasoline Markets Council.
All right. Are there any questions of the patron? Anyone wish to testify in favor? Anyone wish to testify in opposition? Okay, the bill is before us.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Senator Howell.
traditionally, when we have a bill like this, we refer it to the Joint Subcommittee on Tax Policy, and I would so move.
All right. There's a motion and a second to have this passed by and then to be studied in the Joint Subcommittee on Tax Policy during the year, and then we can deal with this issue again next year. So.
Okay.
All right. We'll vote on the board. Pass by and
Pass by and refer to
and refer to the Joint Subcommittee.
Ayes 9, no 7.
All right, that motion passes. Thank you. All right, Delegate Weber. Is he, huh? Where's the other? All right. Yeah, we can take, let's take it back for today, so yeah. All right, there are two bills left, but neither patron is here for those two bills. So unless there's anything further to come before the board to do. Yes.
I can speak to Weaver's bill if you want. If you want him to be here, that's fine too. We can wait till next time.
If you want.
You want to go ahead and clear it over there?
We'll blame you if it fails. So, yeah.
There he is. There he is.
Oh, all right.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
House Bill 1486.
Yes, House Bill 1486 essentially expands and helps define the list of farm machinery and farm implements that are eligible for the exemption from a locality's personal property taxes. The additions to the list is there's language to clarify that motor vehicles exempt from registration requirement used primarily for agricultural purposes are eligible for this exemption. Privately owned trailers primarily used by farmers in their farming operation. Language to clarify that sees it extending vegetable hoop houses used for in-field production of produce or personal property. and language to clarify that equipment used in nurseries are eligible to be exempt. That's what the bill does, Mr. Chairman.
All right, are there questions of the patron? Yes, Senator Norman.
A hoop house, so it's one of those big dome shapes, and you essentially on either side, there'll be an alleyway, and on either side they'll plant lettuce or a variety of vegetables to extend the growing season.
Now you know. Yes. All right.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Senator Hanger.
Thank you. These types of things, it expands what it's a local option. In other words, if the local government wants to do this, they can. If they feel that would crimp their budget too much, they don't have to. But if they are heavily dependent on this type of agriculture in their area, they may want to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could staff address an issue? I think there's a retroactive enactment clause.
Mr. Chairman, there's a committee amendment that would remove the second enactment clause, which would have prohibited a locality exempting the motor vehicles and privately owned trailers from collecting unpaid tangible personal property taxes, including interest and penalties owed to the locality as of July 1st, 2023, and would have deemed such unpaid taxes uncollectible and had them stricken from the books of the treasurer.
All right, does anyone want to propose a motion to address this issue? We don't usually do retroactive taxes, retroactive suspension of taxes. All right, we have a motion to remove that enactment clause. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. All right. Okay, we got a motion to report as amended. The second, all in favor will vote on the board, so.
Ayes 16, no 0.
Ayes 16, no 0.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're quite welcome.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Having voted on the prevailing side whereby we PBI'd HB 1677, I move that we reconsider that vote.
All right. 1677.
It's been brought to my attention that there were some issues that we didn't consider.
All right.
I'm not sure I'm changing my vote ultimately.
Right.
But I think that those issues ought to be considered.
All right. The motion is to reconsider. We'll vote on the board on the reconsideration. All right.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Page 7. Okay. All right.
Thank you, chairs and members of the subcommittee. I have a few people who may be able to clarify some questions that you may have.
Mr. Chairman, Bruce Keeney, representing the Gasoline Marketers Council and the Automotive Repair Association. For clarification, the genesis for this legislation is that all of a sudden this past year, Department of Taxation started in their audit process finding repair of automobile depending upon whether or not there was a supply product when they did a diagnostic service. Okay, and as a result, unbeknownst to people, unwillingly, unknown to anybody, they were getting hits with fines anywhere from I heard, can't confirm, up to $20,000. So what we did with this is we worked, and it didn't make any sense to anybody that if you're doing diagnostic, whether or not it had a supply product tied to it, it should be tax exempt. But the real purpose of this is to give some clarification, so we work with the Department of Taxation, and the bill includes their language to clarify that it's, that it's not, that whether or not it's with a product, a supply product or not, that the diagnostic is tax exempt. So our whole purpose of this is to avoid the surprise penalties for people that didn't understand and work with the Department of Taxation to clear it up. I hope that helps a little bit.
All right. Any questions?
Told you it was a weird bill.
Yeah. Can tax respond to what the issues are here?
Good morning. Joe Mayer from the Department of Taxation.
We've actually had this policy for a number of years. It's not recent, but it has been criticized. And I think one element of the criticism is that, there is an exemption for the separately stated repair labor. And our policy has been, well, the diagnostic fee does not qualify for that exemption because it's the repair labor starts after that has happened. So that's been criticized by the industry.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Senator Deeds.
Mr. Keeney said that people had just started getting notices recently of penalties. You said the policy has been in place for a number of years. Is it just recently that?
No. The industry has not liked it for a long time.
Okay.
And they've made that known to us for a long time. I think that our policy may be a little overly legalistic.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Senator Hanger.
It does seem like that policy, I don't know how much revenue you would lose here, but that policy does seem overly legalistic, if you want to put it that way, rather than wrong. If a plumber comes in and you've got a pipe that's busted, he's going to diagnose that and see that you've got a busted pipe, and then he's going to fix it. Well, there's not a labor, there's not an additional charge just because he knew, from observation. So a diagnostic tool is just a part of analyzing what you got to do before you start doing it.
Well, Mr. Chair.
Senator Deeds.
Is there any way for us to know what the revenue impact of this bill would be?
What the information we have says that it's an unknown negative impact on the locality, so. Wait a second, no, that's a different one. It's an indeterminate negative impact to the general fund, the Commonwealth Transportation Fund, and local revenues.
Okay.
Those three categories, so.
There's no product that you're selling.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
which brings us back around to why I think it was a good idea the last go-round to send it to the tax policy subcommittee to look into in more detail.
And I still second that.
Okay. All right. Suggestion from staff here is that we could entertain a motion to pass it by for the day and work through the process here and see where we end up on things. So,
Thank you very much.
There's a motion to pass it by for the day. Is there a second? Second. All right. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. All right. We will pass it by for the day and let you know when to come back. So thank you. So. All right, I think that takes care of all the business we have. We have just one bill that we did not handle, and that was Delegate Ware. So, all right, is there a motion to adjourn? So moved. All right, is there a second? Second. All right, all in favor say aye. All opposed, no.